Well, hello everyone. It's time to tackle some snow. I'm going to do this needle felted picture today, and it's going to have, originally I was going to have an Arctic fox, but I decided that the colour wasn't right and I've changed it later on to a red fox. And what I'm doing to start with here is my usual thing of mixing a little bit of white and some blue, and I'm just taking it across the sky. I haven't mixed it very well. Again, I want to make sure that I've got that cloud effect, so I just take a light blue and the white and just roughly mix it. You can see that in my hand I've got a sort of mixture of it there. And if you do that and don't over mix it, then you'll get nice pictures, you'll get nice pieces of cloud in the sky as well. So you can see all I've done is just a little bit. This is a 10 by 8. This is a 10 by 8 picture, and it's being felted on 100% wool felt. I have put the drawing in the description box below if you want it, but bear in mind that I will change the fox where it's standing and everything, so if you'd need to ignore the fox really. So make sure you take your blue right across the whole sky. Doesn't matter how it comes out, look, it's lovely with the clouds and all that. I've mixed together a light yellow and this white, very, very pale. It's mainly white, just a hint of the yellow. I'm putting it on this side because this is the side that's going to have, this is the side that's got the light source, the sun, coming through it. So I want some pale yellow clouds as if the sun is shining off the clouds. But as you can see, it's almost white, it's just a hint. And don't worry if you cover up your mountains if you've drawn this with me. And this pale yellow, yellowy white behind the mountains will help the mountains to stand out a bit more. You'll see in a minute. If you don't want to put the clouds on, don't worry, you don't need to do so, because you've already got the cloud effect if you've done the sky the way I do, with roughly mixing the two colours together anyway. So this is just an added thing. And as always, felt it in well. You can do this with carded wool or with roving or tops. I've actually got a mixture of both, as you can see here. I'm going to make the mountains, so the colours that you just saw there, you can see what I've done. I've just roughly done them together. It looks quite dark, but that's because I'm going to put other things over the top of it, so I want the mountains in itself to be quite dark. And again, I don't over mix it because that's going to give you the cracks and the crevices and all that goes with it. So it's just a case of popping the mountains wherever you'd like now. And it's not important that you cover over the trees or anything, then they can go anywhere. So the trees in the pictures, when I draw them, are just guidelines for me to sort of get some idea of the composition of the picture I want. So don't worry about it. You can see how dark it looks, but you'll be surprised later on when you see what we do with it. This is just a same stuff, it's just got more white with it. You'll probably see as I go along, I change things a little bit here and there. I sometimes take a little bit off and change and put something new on. That's the nature of doing these pictures, is you see things you like and then you don't like, and so you can just pull it off. It's great. As long as you haven't needle felted it really, really well, you should be able to pull it off. And can you see what I'm doing? I'm doing slightly different shades of that base colour. Just mixing different bits here and there, because that'll give you some of the difference in depth and all that you want. You don't want just a flat one coloured set of mountains in the background. Also remember that the further away things are from you, the paler they're going to get, because they'll recede into the distance, and the sort of like the atmosphere, the mist, whatever's in the air, will haze everything over, so it gets further and further away. It gets paler and paler, and eventually you wouldn't be able to see them. And as you can see, I don't care where any of it lands. I'm just plopping it down, and I'm just letting, Bob Ross's happy little accidents happen on the mountains, and then I'll see where I want to develop it in a minute. And as I say in all my pictures, I make sure I do the background thoroughly first before I move forward, because that way everything's as it should be, and if I do something in front of it, I haven't got to go back and redo the background. And also, if you're having to look through like tree branches or anything, the background looks like it should. You're not going in and having to fiddle again. So this is a blue and white, because I'm now going to very thinly start laying this over, because this is going to be like the snow on the mountains. Now if you want shaded snow, if you want it without the sunlight on it, you add a touch of blue or purple. And if you want it to look warm and bright and sunny, then you add a little bit of yellow and make it look on the... you add a very little bit of yellow, which will brighten it up. But anything in the shade wants a touch of blue, but you just don't want to be heavy-handed with it. And because I'm putting this on thinly, it'll start to look like it's snow forming on the crags and everything on the mountainside. So there's going to be little dips and little bits where it doesn't go, and so you get that shaded look. It'll probably make more sense as you look at it in a minute. So don't go and put your pale blue colour on really heavily. It just wants to be really thin. And if you have tops or roving, this is a good time to use it, because you can guide it down the mountain. You lay the wool in the direction you want it to look like it's flowing. You can see how I'm leaving some of the underground blue to show through. So in my mind I'm just thinking how imagine it like if water was running down the mountain, how would it go down the mountain? What direction would it flow in? So that's what I'm doing. I'm literally putting it in different directions so that the mountain looks like it's got some shape to it. But as if it were, I say that's the only way I can describe it, is to like think of water running down the mountain and how it would flow down. And that's the same way you want to put the snow. Just not all in the same direction. As you can see there, it's all going off slightly different directions. Now that's the yellow and the white. And I think I'd probably add more white to that in a minute because it's quite yellow. Just blend it well, and that's going to be my sunny side of the mountain. That's the bright snow. I was really excited to do this picture. It did turn out a little bit more fiddly than I anticipated, but that was really my fault because I changed how the fox was going and I wasn't sure what to actually do. It actually got a timeout and sat in a box for a week or so because it was I couldn't just make my mind up about the fox, whether to have a fox in it at all or what to have instead. So the Arctic fox wandered off out of the picture and then the red fox came in, so I thought he could stay. Now here, on this bit, all I'm using is that yellow colour you saw, the white and yellow, and I'm just running it down little bits as if it's catching on the tops of the edges of the mountain, if you know what I mean, like the tops of the dips and things. It just starts to give it some depth and things to the mountain. This isn't about being skillful. You can do this. You just want to add some of this down that side. It doesn't matter where. Just remember the water flow kind of thing and do it like that. You can see how bright that looks against the bluey snow. And if you're not sure, get yourself just a reference picture of a snowy mountain and copy that. You don't have to copy it exactly, just use it as a reference and do whatever you'd like. And if you haven't subscribed, I would really appreciate it if you did subscribe. If you like what I'm doing, these do take me a very long time to do, and it would be nice to see that people are enjoying them. And of course, if you have any comments, do please leave them below and I will get back to you. It's always nice to hear what you think, what you have to say. Praise or criticism, you never know. So this is the same blue I used for the sky, and I'm now going to mix that up to make some snow, some pale snow. And as you can see there, I've got three different colours. I've got the yellowy white, which is for the highlighted areas, and then I've got the bluey colours, just two shades of the blue. Now this green here is actually representing the trees in the background. trees and the mountainy, the bits that run up the sides of the mountains. Again, I've just mixed some colours together, some browns and some greens, and I've not done it really well, as you can see, and that gives me the depth and the highlights that I like. Then I can go in afterwards and add to it if I want to, but I've already got what looks like trees in the distance. I do obviously felt this in really well. I just cut out all those bits, otherwise it would get really, really boring. This is going to be a two-part series. I didn't want to make it into 3 because I wasn't sure where quite to cut the picture up, the video, so I've made it into 2 and it's just a little bit longer. I hope that's all right with you. I do use my needle a lot, if you haven't seen any of my pictures, to pull the wool around, but if you do that you just need to be really, really gentle because you'll snap the end of your needle. It's very thin. This is a really dark green I've got because I want some shadow along the back. And this spreading it out really thinly just gives it little bits of extra snow on the backs of things. But it's really fine, it looks good, I think. And you see when you're looking at the mountains now how that yellowy coloured snow really does make a difference, really pops off the blue. And this is the bluey coloured snow I've got going down here now. So don't forget, while you're watching this, bear in mind that that fox isn't actually staying in the end. So although it looks like I'm going around it, I do later on just completely cover it over, but you'll see that on the next video. And where the snow is very shady, it's still the blue and white colour, but I've added a little grey. I put a little there because I wanted to break that up a bit. When I do my pictures, I always allow myself a good ½ inch all the way around extra. So although this is going to end up to be 10 by 8, it's probably 11 by 9 while I'm working on it. But even so, I go right up to the edges because it means that when I come to trim it to frame it, I have a little bit of leeway of some. If I like something better, I can move the frame one way or the other. And then as well, you're not going to end up with a bare patch down the edge anywhere. So I make it about ½ inch large all the way around on all my pictures and felt right up to the edges. I don't have anything particular in mind while I'm doing this. I'm just breaking up the background a little bit. It's amazing because you put this down and when someone's looking at it, their eyes automatically see things and blend things together. So it's surprising what you're not actually having to do, and somebody's mind will do it for you. Now this is some of the yellow and white now, because I want this ridge, the fox is standing up on a ridge, and I wanted this to have the sunlight on it. It's catching the sunlight, if you remember, that's coming from the top left hand corner. So it would be on this ridge, there's nothing to shade it. So all this is yellow, the yellowy white snow. And this is that dark blue. It's all still representing snow. But this part is going to be down in a valley, the shaded part you can see now. And because obviously it's down there, it's not getting the sunlight. And this is an example of where you need to be bold and make it, dark, because I think when you're planning on and you're doing it, you're thinking, oh, that's going to be too dark, I can't put that there, I need something lighter. But actually it needs to be that dark. You need to have that as the contrast. And I'm putting in the shade here that the trees will cast. So although I haven't actually done the trees yet, that's what this is, because I liked the blue I had, so I thought I'll put it in now. And it really does need to be quite a strong contrast against the yellowy white. See, that part is shading for the fox, but obviously the fox isn't going to be there, so. But you can still see how it's done. And because of the time of the day I've decided to do this, this would be sort of late afternoon on a winter's evening, so the shadows would be quite long, meaning they would stretch out away from you quite a lot. Like I say, all that's going to go and be covered in the yellowy white snow for the next one. I didn't edit this bit out, even though I'm not doing it, because I thought it would be good to see how I do the shadows and just how dark you need it to be to get the good contrast. And yet when you look at that you think, oh well, that's far too dark, but really it's not. Now this snow that I'm putting here is a bit of the blue and white rather than the yellow. I wanted the front of the ledge to be the brightest, which is why I did a little bit of the darker, well, I say darker, but the little bit of the light blue snow just there. And apart from anything else, it also gives you a bit of highs and lows on it, which is good. You don't want just a, well, you can have just a flat snow if you want, but I like a little bit of what looks like little hills and little dales and things like that. I'm sure there's a better word than dales, but I can't think of what it is right now. I do find this multi-tool that I'm using, it has 5 or 6 needles in it. It's very useful when you want to do things that you want to keep the wool spread out thinly, because if I use a single needle it tends to gather all the wool together and you end up with a line. But if I use the multi-tool it keeps it spread out, so that's why you'll see me going back to do that sometimes. Whereas if you see that bit, when it went on, it ends up in almost like a thin line. You have to work harder to get it to spread out. It's doable, obviously. But I'm lazy and I like the multi-tool. Now I'm starting to put in a tree. Because it's a winter tree, I don't really have to worry about leaves and things, so I just put a very thin layer of the yellowy snow as a background, but thin so you can see through it. And then I'm going to put the branch up, the trunk up, which will push all the other bits to the back. And then when I put some more snowy bits on the branches, it'll make the tree look a bit more 3D, a bit more depth. If you can see what I mean now, you've got a little bit more to look at. It makes the tree look lacy. And as you can see, if you look around, I've put a few of the trees in. The green pine trees are just simply cone-shaped green, and I've just added a little bit of snow effect to them. And here I'm not using black at all. This is just brown trunks that I'm putting up. And again, I'm working from the back to front so that each time I put something on top of something else, it pushes it backwards. And now here I'm coming to do the silver birch, and I start off my silver birch with a just dark brown. It can be very dark brown, or you could even use black if you wanted, because you're going to cover this over, but I suggest you use a really dark brown if you've got it. And this is just all one colour, and I've just pulled it up to make a branch shape. Now here I've mixed together some very, very pale beigey brown, but I mean really pale, like almost cream, in with the white. And I'm pulling it up. Again, this is tops or roving. I'm just pulling it up the tree. because although it's silver birch, I want the trunk going upwards first, and then with the silver birches they tend to look like you've got horizontal lines going up the tree, but you'll see how I do that in a minute. And then that's the light bit of snow on that side, the yellowy one, just to reflect off the tree. But you can see where I only put that beigey white colour on originally, you can still see some of the brown underneath, and that'll be obvious why you need to do that in a minute. And here I'm just adding little bits of banding around the bottom, because I say if you look at a silver birch, it does have almost like a little bit of banding around it. And as with all my trees, I like to layer them up. This is where I'm putting some of the banding in. But up close here you can really see how the trunk looks like a trunk because of all the colours you've layered up over it. And you can still see the dark colour that's underneath. Now what I've done, there's choices you have here when you want to do the blobby bits on a silver birch. You can cut into the top of the wall, the white bit that you put up, or the creamy bit, cut till you can see the underneath brown. I've done it both ways so you can see. It works, it's fine. You just have to make sure you've felt the ends of the creamy coloured wool in well. So you can do that, or you can grab a little bit more of the base brown colour that you put on and lay that on. Now these bits that I'm making are where the branches come out from. So the branches originally would have come out from these gaps and they've either fallen off or whatever. So in a minute you'll see it's very effective, but just make sure you don't cut through the brown bit underneath. And here I'm doing it a different way. I'm just putting some brown on the top. And these almost like spiral around the tree. You don't have them, they're not opposite each other. Oh, now I'm just doing exactly the same thing and putting on another tree. If you don't have a really dark brown, then just mix some black and brown together. It just needs to be really dark, this base colour. And I'm just going to repeat the process that I did on the other tree now. Making sure I add the highlight up the front as well. And now I'm just adding a few branches. If you hear any slightly weird noises or tippy-tapping noises in the background, that's actually my dog, so I'm sorry about that. I'll try and edit it out, but I might miss bits of it. Now when I've done those bits, as you see up the trunk, in some cases I've done it with the dark brown that I used as a base, and then I've gone in with just almost like a gingery brown, just a hint of it, just to add some different texture to those holes, but not in all of them. The bits I'm doing now are going to be the iced over branches of this silver birch. So this is why I've rolled up the lighter colours. It's literally as if you imagine a branch that's completely covered in ice, and that's what these bits are. So just roll them between your fingers and pull them up to the top of the picture. They can go right off the picture if you want, it doesn't matter. And this one I'm doing a branch and it's coming out. Can you see it's coming out from one of those places I cut? Well, that's more or less it for this picture today. The final part will be next week and we will add the red fox as well. But I hope you're enjoying it and I hope you do have a go, and if you have any questions leave them in the comments. I'm quite happy to get back to you and answer them for you. I do have a Facebook page as well if anybody wants to go on there, and a private Facebook group as well. And that's on, I'm under Faelanda's Fibre Art on Facebook. I will see you in the next episode and enjoy your felting in the meantime. Bye for now.